Syracuse and Florida State. We've got Florida State 17.5-point home favorites, 56.5 the total in this game. Remember, guys, last year, what did we see from Syracuse after they started, what was it, 5-0, 6-0 or something like that? And then they just absolutely collapsed down the stretch. I'm not going to say deja vu all over again just yet, but, man, we're starting to see signs of it, aren't we? I mean, these last couple of games for Syracuse, they started the year undefeated, but really who do they play, right? Colgate, Western Michigan, Purdue, Army in those first 4 games. And then they play some real opposition. Clemson and North Carolina, the last 2 games, they get outscored 71-21 in those 2 games. So not good for Syracuse. And Schrader's up, and the offense has slowed down now that they faced better teams. The defense has been absolutely ripped apart the last couple of weeks by Cade Klubnik and Clemson at home. And then last week, Drake May and that North Carolina offense did a tap dance all over Syracuse in that 40-7 beatdown. So good luck against Florida State now. Although that being said, Florida State in these bigger favorite roles now, that's twice now when they've been laying more than 3 touchdowns that they failed to cover. Virginia Tech and Boston College, both of those games, they don't cover the number. Now, they aren't laying as many here, 17.5. I'd lean Florida State here. When you look at their schedule, they do play Duke, but it's at home. I don't think Duke yet is at that, even though they're much better Duke, I don't think that's one of those games where Florida State is like, wow, we were really looking ahead to that, because historically Duke's not that great in football. I worry about this Syracuse defense. I think they're really struggled with the athleticism and the speed of these and the weapons at these last few, and the great receivers have really carved up Syracuse the last couple games. And who's got great receivers? Oh yeah, Florida State, when you got to worry about Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman on this team. So it's a troubling matchup for a Syracuse defense that, now that they're facing really good teams and really good offenses, is starting to come unglued. So for me, it's FSU or pass. What do you think here, C-Mac?
I think so too. I think a lot of people thought after last week I couldn't do it. Take the points with Syracuse against North Carolina, and that didn't work out. And I'm glad I stayed away. I did have the under, which North Carolina defense we talked about last week, playing a little bit better. I know Syracuse not the greatest offense, but man, that was too. And Drake May 442. They ran for 202. I mean, gave up 650 yards. Syracuse just in trouble. Florida State, I think early and often. I just don't think the Syracuse team is very good on the road. Some of these games, last year they blew them out in Syracuse. Yeah. What was it, 38-3? But at home it was 33-30. Can we see a bounce back to the Syracuse team? I don't know.
By the way, it's worth noting, you might want to take Florida State first half, because the one thing about the Virginia Tech game and a couple of games is that they had that great even first quarter, and then they do go through these little lulls where they fall asleep for a bit, Florida State, and that has concerned me a little bit. That'll be the one fear I have in this point spread range, where you got to play pretty strong for the majority of the game. You're going to cover numbers like this, and we do kind of see them go through these little lapses, these little lulls during the game, and that's not what you want when you're going to lay 17 at. But I just don't know if Syracuse is going to stop them. So for that reason,
I don't know if they can either.
That's why I still lean Florida State here. Yeah.
Yeah, and last week it got them. They didn't cover in the end.
Yep.
They went
fell just short.
20,
yep.
Yeah, just fell short.
They had that little second quarter where they kind of, like I said, fell asleep, and that's all it takes. If you're when you're laying numbers like this, to fall short of getting the money.